Hello, hello, hello. This is Aurelia Davis, the educator's educator. Let me see if my volume is up. Coming to you on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening. It is now 7:30. And just hope everybody has had a terrific week. Teachers, hope you've had a terrific week. You're just sort of rounding the corner to the end of the year, and I hope things are still going well with you. But I wanted to get into, well, if anybody doesn't know me, my name is Aurelia Davis, the educator's educator. I am a retired Chicago public school teacher who worked over 31 years in the system and currently doing, still supporting the system in many ways. I'm currently working with a neighborhood to bring STEAM schools to a particular neighborhood. So I'm working with Chicago Public Schools and then just general doing some other things on the outside, anything that's basically going into the interest of teaching children. That is my passion, teaching children. And so, just to see some of the other offerings I do have, please feel free to go over to my website, aureliadavis.com, and see exactly what I offer as far as my consulting firm is concerned, talking to teachers, helping, supporting them in the different areas that they need help in. And I also have my STEM cards. The STEM cards are in the website, STEM cards for preschool. I found that there was not a prescribed curriculum for STEM for preschool, so I created these cards. So just go over there and figure out and see what I have to offer. But my topic today is student behavior. Student behavior. And the reason I'm really concerned about this because we're looking at student behavior in preschools. Student behavior in preschools. Now we know that or that we've heard about student behavior in elementary schools, children getting very aggressive in the classroom, tossing things and different things like that. That's a whole different area of student behavior. But I wanted to address student behavior in preschool first, and then maybe at another time I'll go into student behavior in elementary schools and even high schools because I do believe there is a management style that teachers and schools can do in order to manage student behavior. In order to manage student behavior, first of all, be it a preschool, elementary school, or a high school, everyone in the building have to be on the same plane. They have to be in the same room with student behavior. My particular school, we set up a behavior management plan for the entire building, and that included the kindergarten all the way to eighth grade. What we also did within my building is that we had a tendency of letting our children know and letting our parents know that every child in that building had to be accountable to every adult in the building. I'll say that again. Every child in the building had to be accountable to every adult in the building. And I've probably stated this before, but when someone would ask me, how many students do you have? I basically say I have about 635 because I taught or I managed student behavior from kindergarten all the way to eighth grade. And we found out that it worked. So, a perfect example, a teacher is taking his class down the hall, and he's in the front of the classroom, and he's leading the classroom in the front of the hall. And I might be behind that particular classroom, and I see students misbehaving or just acting up, nothing major, but at the same time, something that needs to be managed. So what I would do is I would just say, Miss Johnson, I said, can I talk to you for a minute? And the teacher obliges me. And she said, Miss Davis, she said, what can I do? I said, we have Johnny. And usually these children I do know because if they pass through my classroom, most likely I know their names. I said, Johnny's having some issues back here. He can't seem to stop pushing or shoving or doing whatever he's doing. I said, do you mind if he comes to my classroom and just do a little work just to, release some of the energy and just to work off some of the energy that he has? Feel free, Miss Davis. And so look up and the child is in my classroom. And so that's how we manage the building throughout the year. We managed the building. We also had student assemblies for good behavior, children that would earn, movies and different things at the end of the week because they exhibited good behavior. And when I say good behavior, I'm saying that you're not expecting them to be not to be children, but you're expecting them to be appropriate in wherever they are. So if they're sitting in a classroom, they're not jumping up and throwing chairs and things like that. That would not be appropriate. But management would have come where that particular child is taught exactly what they can and cannot do in the beginning of the year in a type of building. And then what you're also stating is that this is for safety reasons. This is for safety reasons. So if as an educator, you have the right to put that in front, put that in front. And the thing about it, what I love more about my school is that anything that I intended to do in my classroom as far as behavior management or classroom management, I did pass it by my principal. Now, all teachers did not have the same classroom management styles. But when it came down to the building management, behavior building management within that building, we were all on the same page. We had to be all on the same page. And Mr. Johnson can come into my classroom and I can go to his classroom. He could be teaching eighth grade and come to down to my third grade classroom, and I can be teaching third grade and go to his eighth grade classroom. And the children knew exactly what was expected of them as far as their behavior is concerned. Unlike when children are wait for substitutes to come in and then they just go completely bonkers. Well, another thing, classrooms had behavior management charts on the wall, and those particular behaviors were expected to be followed no matter who was in the classroom, no matter who was in the classroom. And like I said before, every teacher was not the same, but what they did is we sort of ran down the same road as far as what we expected. And eventually, I'm going to be honest, it did not start immediately. It did not just grasp immediately, but it basically took on itself. And as our children continued to go from kindergarten all the way through eighth grade, they knew exactly what was expected of them. Another thing that we did is that any children that were coming into our building, they were given our behavior management schedule or rules when they entered our building. And so if a parent saw some things on there that they did not like, then they had the choice not to put their child in that particular building and not put their child in our school. And it was just expected like that. So I said all of that to say this is what happens on the elementary, what was happening in my particular building. But what would happen is that what also is as a concern is that if children came into the building and they had aggressive behavior where something was happening and it had to be managed. Um, the first thing you do, the first thing you do is recognize the problem or recognize the behavior. If a child comes in and they're angry or they're shouting out or like I've seen in a couple of videos, they're tossing furniture and things like that. That is something where basically teaching stops right then and there. Teaching stops. You cannot teach within that type of atmosphere. You cannot teach in that type of and you don't want to teach in that type of atmosphere or that type of environment. You have to, as an educator, you need to address that immediately. And no matter how long it takes, you need to meet that problem and find out exactly what's happening with that child. Now, what I would do as I became more experienced is that I would know my children enough, at least by the fourth month, and I would be able to tell if something was going on in their lives that was giving them issues or making them aggressive or making them sad or making them angry. And so after recognizing the problem, what I would do is I would see, especially if it was a child that had never shown those kind of behaviors before, I would tap immediately into the administrators. I would let the administrators know what I was going to do. And my next step would be to connect with and contact the parents. But I connected with my administrators first to let them know that there was an issue in my classroom. There was an issue in my classroom, and I wanted to address the issue, but I needed them to support me in addressing the issue. Now, being the administrators, they know the proper protocol in order to address an issue like that. They know how to connect the parents. Sometimes they will even add the counselors or the social workers or psychiatrists and involve them in the issue, especially after the issue was being described. And if it's shown where the child was very aggressive, of course, we would basically try to have that child removed from the classroom. Or either if the child would not take himself out of the classroom, move the other children out of the classroom. Take the children and move them out of the classroom so that no one else gets hurt, especially if children are tossing chairs and throwing pencils and grabbing. You need to empty the classroom immediately. Empty the classroom immediately. I'm going to say within my 31 years, I never had that happen. It never happened. And I'm going to be honest, I believe I'm blessed that I didn't have to partake, see that happening with my children. First of all, I would be petrified. I would be mortified. And then I would feel so sorry for that child, because what is causing this child to act like this? What is going on in his life? I don't care how old he is or how young he is. What is going on in his life to make him act this way? So, recognizing the problem, that's number one. Connect with the administrators and let them know that the problem is existing. Now, in the meantime, what you can do is give it a couple of days to see if it's consistent. See if the problem is consistent. Did they do it on Monday, Tuesday? Did it calm down by Wednesday and pick up again on Thursday? If it was consistent where it happened a couple of days, then of course you definitely need to get in touch with your administrators the first time it happens and the second time it happens. But be prepared to get the parents in once it has happened at least 3 to 4 times, because now it's time to bring the parent in. There's always a simple incident, and there's always the type of thing where a child gets upset one day and can be very happy the next day. And those are the things you, as an educator, you're monitoring on a regular basis. You're looking on a regular basis. You're supposed to be monitoring and observing your children day to day, no matter how many hours it is. Never take your eyes off your students. Never take your eyes off your students, because they don't know how to hide issues that are bothering them. And so you need to be there to catch those issues so that you can address those issues and give them the added support that they need in order to overcome the issues that they have. So the next thing, we've recognized the problem. We don't know exactly what causes the problem. Sometimes you can see what causes the problem. Does he get aggressive around lunchtime? Or does he get aggressive after lunch? What's happening after lunch? Okay, is he being bullied? All kinds of things are happening, not in our eyesight, but we don't exactly know. These children have like their own secret codes, especially now with texting and technology. They have their own secret codes and body movements and things going on that we are not aware of. But if you are observant enough, you can pick up on different things. You can pick up, because they can't hide it that good. They can't hide it that good, which is good, fortunate. So that parent conference. And of course, all of this time you have been documenting what you have been observing. You have been documenting it from the first time the incident happened to how many times during the day, what time does it happen? Is it happening during a particular subject like reading or math? Do they act out during that particular time? Do they act out going to the bathroom? All of those types of things, and by this time you have observed, but you have also talked to the child. And a lot of times they do not know why they're acting the way they are. They can't express it. They don't know how to express what's bothering them, and that can be from the oldest child, that can be from a 17-year-old all the way down to a preschooler. And so set up a parent conference, and You want to come to the parents and basically state, Miss Jones, we have been noticing that Jackson has been doing some things that's really not to his benefit. Okay, in other words, he's been acting out, and then describe the behaviors that you're seeing. That parent might get on the defensive in the sometimes they get on the defensive, but sometimes they also will turn around and they will say, yeah, I've been noticing the same things. That's when you basically bring in like a social worker, because there may be some things going on at home that a outside resource can help that family with. The outside resource can help that family with. So in the meantime, that's who you just reach out to get and reach out to, see. So, well, Ms. Jones, would you would prefer to talk to the social worker? Are there some issues that you probably need some help with, some resources you help with? If they say yes, then you get them involved. And you as an educator can immediately step out of the room and let the social worker or the counselor and that parent have a conference, because at that particular time your immediate concern is the child and how the child is behaving in your classroom. And do not necessarily, they may not necessarily want you to know exactly what's going on at home. Now, sometimes in the past, I have found out that there may have been a grandparent that passed away. I have found out that there was a grandparent that passed away. I have found out that there were parents that were getting ready to get a divorce and separate. I have found out that older sibling was probably, uh, not misbehaving or something. So there's something in the family dynamics that will probably push the child to act the way they've been acting in school. And they act out to let you know that they want your attention. They do it so that they can get your attention, and basically it does work like that, and that's I have no problem. But more than anything else, I was saying that teaching stops until this is figured out, or either that child's issue is being addressed so that they can get the help they need. So you have set up a parent conference, then the group gets back together, and if it's something that is happening at home and those resources are in place, then you just wait to see if the resources are working. You wait to see if the resources are working, and you give it some time. Give it some time. What I have found out that after some resources were in place for the home, then I would check in with that child every day. I would check in with that child every day, because sometimes just being in a large group of children, and my classroom was large. I had 28 to 32. And so that sort of edges them on, or they don't feel they're getting enough one-on-one attention from the teacher. So I didn't have a problem pulling Johnny to say, Johnny, would you like to, how you feeling today? How you feeling today? Are you doing good today? And they would answer me, Miss Davis, like blah, blah, blah. I said, well, you know what? I'll say, why don't you pull your desk up and just work next to me? If you feel like being by yourself, just pull your desk up and work next to me. And I would allow them to do that, because this was the time for TLC, tender loving care, for that one particular child. And before you know it, we had developed even stronger relationship than what we had before. But he felt that someone cared about what he was going through, and that person was me. And I had no problem giving them whatever they needed in order for them to feel good. Because we have to realize children, a lot of the issues children have is not from what they do. Sometimes it's from the environment that they're in, and things that they're seeing, trauma. That's why we have social emotional learning going in place. That's why they're putting in yoga, calm sessions. And children are going through so much trauma now than they've ever had trauma before. So we want to just basically keep them safe and keep them calm. And you can't solve the whole thing, but you can give as much support as you can while you can. And so after that, you regroup to see if we can do some things. Have found in the past that sometimes children need to just get away. Sometimes they need that alone time. Sometimes they need that one-on-one counseling with their teacher, or with the counselor or in another classroom. I have found that even my third graders felt good during the day where they wanted to go in and read to a kindergartner or just go in and help the kindergarten teacher and so forth. So it's okay. It's okay. That test can wait. That test can wait. Allow this child to get himself together, and you're going to give him that whatever help he needs in order for him to achieve what he needs to achieve. And after regrouping to see things, and then of course you come back like within maybe a week or 2 weeks time, report back to the parent and let the parent know this is what we've did and this is what's working, and so far he's doing pretty good. But what you have established during that time, you were able to give that child one-on-one care. And before life is over, everyone needs that one way or the other. And it's very important that our children get this. So when you're looking at behavior problems, you need to just stop teaching and figure out exactly what's going on with these children. You need to practice safety, because if a child is being very aggressive in the classroom, you need to get all of the other children out of the classroom. And sometimes I have even seen teachers just remove themselves from the classroom also and just let this child do whatever. And you'll be surprised how aggressive and how strong they get, tossing desks and chairs. But at the same time, they are getting something out. Something is eating them alive and they need to get rid of it. And so we have found out it usually happens that after they have gotten it out of their system, then they just collapse. They just collapse. But I have never felt in my 31 years that I needed to fight with a student. First of all, I'm the adult, they are the child. And never the two will those two meet as far as being equal to each other. It's not going to ever happen. Never happen. So I basically do not, I have never argued with a child. I have basically stated some things as far as what I meant and what I said, and then I was done with it. And if the child did not follow through, I did not get into a verbal battle with a child because I know I was going to always be the winner. I'm the adult. They are the child. It is as simple as that. And why would you? I never felt prone that I had to argue with a child. I would basically state exactly what I meant and what I said, and then I would leave it alone. Because by that time, the child has heard what I've stated and said. And if they do not follow what I'm saying and what I've said and do not accept what I've said, then we're at step two. We're at step two, and I'll do whatever I need to do professionally as an educator and as an adult to do what I need to do in order for that child to follow the behavior man code of that my classroom or the behavior management code for that particular school and building. Wow. This is it. I've expressed it. I really wanted to get into preschool, but even with the things I've talked about with preschool is a little different for the simple reason that those particular children, I did some research, and it states that preschoolers are curious, easily distracted, and keen on independence. They also still developing self-regulation. The word is self-regulation. How do they regulate themselves? They're still learning that when you say hot, they don't know what hot is until they do touch it. And then they recognize hot, and hot means that it's going to hurt. It doesn't feel good. Okay. We're finding now that a lot of preschoolers are biting. I just read up on, and when I was teaching preschool, I didn't have that issue. But what's happening now is that children are not connecting the verbal skills seem to be delayed. Their verbal skills seem to be delayed. And it's interesting because somebody talked to me a couple of weeks ago, and they said, we have to get away from doing the baby babble, woo woo, goo goo, all of that kind of stuff with children, because if that's the language they hear, that's the language they're going to talk. Makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And they're coming and being born already at least 3 months developmentally in place. 3 months ahead of where they're supposed to be when they're infants. When a 3 and 4 year week old is turning over, oh yes, they're coming here all automatically developmentally in place. So you just need to go to the next higher step to be working with these particular children. But they do need the nurturing, they do need the cuddling, they do need the bonding. So as a parent, when you see when your child starts walking, that doesn't mean they're full grown. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen like that. Okay, but I'll get into that another day. If you like to hear about my offerings, go over to aureliadavis.com. I'm offering all kinds of materials and sessions over there. I have my STEM learning cards for preschool. I offer counseling sessions. I do curriculums, lesson plan, audits, everything. So if you feel free to go over and see what I have to give you. Or this is aureliadavis.com. Nice talking to you. Have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.